The neural interface hummed against David's temple as he stood in the crystalline chamber of the Zephyrian flagship. 20 years had passed since the war ended, yet the weight of those battlefield memories still pressed against his consciousness like a physical force. He had been summoned here, dragged across 3 star systems, for reasons the Zephyrian emissaries refused to disclose. Commander David Chen, a voice resonated through the chamber, not through air but directly into his auditory cortex via quantum entanglement transceivers. Do you remember me, human? The chamber's walls shifted, their molecular structure rearranging to form a translucent viewport. Through it emerged a figure that made David's breath catch. She was tall, nearly 3 meters, her exoskeleton shimmering with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed in hypnotic rhythms. 4 arms moved with elegant precision, and her compound eyes, thousands of hexagonal lenses, fixed upon him with an intensity that transcended species. Queen Elsa, David whispered, his voice barely audible. You do remember. The Queen's mandibles clicked in what the translation algorithm interpreted as satisfaction. I wondered if your short-lived species would retain such memories. Your neural pathways decay so rapidly compared to ours. David's mind spiraled back to Kepler 442b, that hell world where humanity and the Zephyrian collective had clashed over territorial expansion rights. He had been a mere lieutenant then, leading a reconnaissance unit through the planet's toxic methane swamps. The war had been brutal, a conflict born from misunderstanding and desperation, as both species sought habitable worlds in an increasingly crowded galaxy. The Battle of Crimson Marsh, David said, his enhanced memory implants bringing the details into sharp focus. You weren't a queen then. No, Elsa agreed, moving closer. Her footsteps made no sound. Her anti-gravity biomechanics kept her hovering millimeters above the floor. I was Princess Elsa, 3rd in line to the collective's throne, and I was dying. The memory crystallized with painful clarity. David had found her trapped beneath a collapsed shield generator, her hemolymph, the Zephyrian equivalent of blood, leaking from a massive wound in her thorax. The neurotoxic atmosphere was eating through her damaged environmental suit. By all tactical logic, he should have eliminated her. One dead Zephyrian princess would have been a significant strategic victory. Instead, he had dragged her to his unit's makeshift bunker, used his own emergency biosealant to close her wounds, and shared his oxygen mixture to stabilize her chemistry. His squad had thought him mad. Command had later called it treason, though they couldn't prove he knew her identity at the time. I thought you were just another soldier, David said. Your translation device was damaged. You kept repeating something in your language I couldn't understand. I was reciting the oath of preservation, Elsa explained, her bioluminescent patterns shifting to deeper blues, a sign of solemn respect in Zephyrian culture. A prayer we speak when facing death, asking the cosmos to remember our essence. You could not understand my words, yet you understood my need. The war had ended 3 months after that incident, when both species finally established proper communication protocols and realized their conflict stemmed from a catastrophic translation error regarding territorial boundaries. The peace treaty had been signed, reparations made, and both civilizations had retreated to lick their wounds. Why am I here, Your Majesty? David asked, using the formal address his diplomatic training had drilled into him. Elsa's 4 arms gestured in a complex pattern, invitation, gratitude, and urgency combined. Because I ascended to the throne 5 years ago, and I have not forgotten my debt. More importantly, because humanity and the collective face a threat that neither can survive alone. The chamber walls transformed again, displaying astronomical data that made David's enhanced cognition struggle to process. A wave of exotic matter was sweeping through their sector of the galaxy, a phenomenon the scientists were calling a causality cascade. It was rewriting the fundamental constants of physics in its wake, making entire star systems uninhabitable as chemical bonds became impossible and fusion reactions destabilized. Our projections show it will reach Earth in 32 years, Elsa continued. The Zephyrian homeworld in 47. Both our species will be extinct unless we collaborate on a solution. And you need me because you are the only human a Zephyrian queen has ever owed a life debt to. Your people distrust us. Many of your leaders still see the collective as enemies. But if I stand beside you, if we show both our species that cooperation is possible at the highest levels, perhaps we can build the trust necessary for this collaboration. David studied the data streams, his military training automatically assessing logistics and probabilities. The science was sound. He could see the signatures of the cascade in the sensor readings, the mathematical models predicting its inexorable approach. This was extinction level, and neither humanity's technology nor Zephyrian bioengineering could solve it independently. What exactly are you proposing? Elsa's patterns flashed brilliant gold, hope, determination. A joint research station in neutral space. The best minds from both our species, working together to find a way to deflect or neutralize the cascade. But more than that, a symbol. You and I, human and Zephyrian, proving that old enemies can become partners in survival. She extended one of her 4 hands toward him, a gesture she had clearly studied from human customs. You saved my life when logic demanded you should have taken it. You showed me that your species values individual life over tactical advantage. Let me return that gift by helping save your entire world. David looked at the offered hand, so alien, yet the gesture so familiar. He thought of Earth, of the billions who would never know how close they stood to annihilation. He thought of the soldier he had been, pulling a dying alien from the wreckage because it was simply the right thing to do. He grasped her hand. The texture was strange, cool, and slightly chitinous, but the grip was firm and sincere. I remember you, David said quietly. And I believe that same person who thanked me in words I couldn't understand is still here, offering salvation to a species that once tried to kill her. Elsa's bioluminescence pulsed in patterns David was learning to read. Gratitude, respect, and something that transcended species. Friendship forged in the crucible of war and tempered by the possibility of peace. Then let us begin, the Queen said. Let us show the galaxy what enemies turned allies can achieve when survival demands we become more than what we were.